Yeah, last time, John, you teased, I believe you did, that you'd been to an Amazon Go store.
Yeah, boy, this seems like forever ago, but it was probably only about 3 weeks ago. It was I went downtown Chicago for the day, and I was coming back from lunch right near where I used to work, and I stumbled upon an Amazon Go shop. And there's not a lot to say about it other than it is what it's advertised to be. You know, these are the shops that you go in and you can literally just walk in, take things off the shelf and walk out, and it magically charges your Amazon account. And the way it worked was there's an Amazon Go app. It's separate from the Amazon app, which I think is kind of dumb, really, because I mean, most people are familiar with the Amazon app and probably aren't as familiar with separate apps, although obviously I know Amazon has things like the Prime app and other things. But you did have to download another app, and it was quick enough to do. And it gives you a little barcode. I think it's a QR code, and you just scan it, which lets you in basically into the turnstiles like you were going on public transportation. And then inside, it's really just pretty much just like any kind of convenience store, like a Tesco or a 7-Eleven or something like that, except that there's no cash register. There's no person standing behind a counter checking people out. It's just rows and rows of fast food, pre-made meals, drinks, some fruit, that kind of thing, like a very small grocery store. And so you pick up what you want, and I think I picked up something to drink, and of course an Amazon Go mug, which I can take a picture of and we can put in the show notes because I had to prove that I was in fact there. And then I just walked out, and I think I was there even with just kind of wandering around to see the kind of things that they had for sale. I think I was there for only a couple of minutes. What was kind of funny though is because it's a pretty new concept, and it's been around on the West Coast in the U.S. for a while, but it's very new to other parts of the country. And so I think they had something like 6 people working there whose sole jobs really was to explain to people how to download the app and then to tell them, yes, it's really okay if you just pick this up and walk away. So,
Oh,
at least in the short term, I don't really think they're saving a lot of money because instead of having just like one, maybe 2 people manning this relatively small shop that was in the lobby of an office building, they had like 6 people. It obviously had just opened up probably that week. I don't know. I was there on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, something like that. And my guess is it had just opened up that week. And people were confused and nervous about walking out with stuff. But it was super easy if you just trusted the system. And I bought I picked up my things and left, and that was about all there is to say about it.
yeah, I think like what you said about the amount of staff there and stuff. I think for Amazon, like this obviously isn't like, oh, we're gonna make all our money from this. Like
Right.
they have this thing called the treasure truck. Are you
Oh
aware of
yes,
this? I
I've
don't know if
seen.
this is only in the UK or
No,
not.
I've seen it. It's I've seen that downtown Chicago too, and maybe I might have seen one out in the suburbs too. They drive around and what they announce like daily deals or something. Then you drive to the treasure truck and then you can get your super good deals, right?
Yeah, so they've done it a few times in Portsmouth. I ended up shutting it off because where they park or where they have the truck in Portsmouth really isn't. It's not convenient for me to go
Right.
there. During the day. And there's been a couple of times like in the summer when it was, when we were having our heat wave over here, they had like a barbecue pack of meat that had, burgers and sausages and chicken wings and stuff like that. And I kind of look at it and I look at Amazon Go and I think, I'm not really sure where you're going with this
Yeah,
because
I
I
know.
can't see Amazon suddenly, I don't feel like Amazon are going to suddenly just, oh, we're just going to focus on shops, like grocery stores. I mean, I know they bought Whole Foods, and I guess I can see them sort of transferring some of that tech to there.
Yeah, I've been to
But they seem to just sort of spend a lot of money on all these sort of little experiments and weird things that make them, people, like me, like you, we go, oh, the treasure truck, that's an interesting concept.
Yes, and I've seen the treasure truck before, and I don't really get that too much either. Although I see people get excited about it on Twitter. I guess they must have good deals. But it's funny because it's like, all right, we've now put all these shops out of business, so now we're gonna fill the gap and put up our own shops, which is which is kind of an interesting strategy, I suppose. I've been to the Whole Foods since Amazon bought them. I've been to one here locally, and I don't know, it's really no different. They have special blue labels, I think, on things that you get a special deal on if you're a Prime member. And I found it kind of hard walking around to tell what was a Prime what the Prime deals were. And then when I checked out, I was like, oh, I'm going to check out with my Prime membership. So you have there again, I think it's another special app that's just for Whole Foods. It's in the Whole Foods app now.
Of course it
right?
is.
So you scan and I was checking out and I did my thing. I scanned the QR code, which was kind of awkwardly placed. Not, you would think maybe it would be like by the contactless pay thing, but it wasn't that. It was kind of under this little it was clearly something that they had installed wherever they could find a little space, because it was this weird awkward thing where you had to kind of shove it under this little shelf where people would usually pay their money, and it was very hard to scan the QR code. And when I was done scanning the QR code, I couldn't, they didn't give me, they said, do you want a receipt? I was like, nah, I don't want a receipt. So I had no idea if I saved any money or not. It didn't say in the app, so I don't know. I really don't know.
Excellent. So it's just sort of apps for days. It's just in 10 years we're just going to have an app for absolutely every single shop that we're ever going to go in. I guess
Amazon's ending up like Google with just a million different apps, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But, I'm kind of a bit jealous that you got to go in one. I feel like with the Amazon Go, like, it's kind of split. There's the people, I think, like me and you, who are a bit like, well, this is great. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can
right.
just leave. And then there's the other half of people who are like, oh no, I like the interactions with people, and I don't go in a shop for that.
No,
I'm not interested.
No, I mean, if I still work downtown, it is actually really convenient, just because it's so quick to just walk in, pick something up, and leave. If you want a quick lunch or I don't know, a drink or whatever it is, I mean, it's a lot faster than waiting in a line of people to check out.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to be getting one anytime soon. We did find out today we're getting a Taco Bell in Portsmouth.
Oh, how about that? You make a run for the border.
Which I am excited about.
Live Moss, Rob. Live Moss. Oh.
So, that's opening up. Maybe like 15-minute walk from my house.
Oh, nice.
So, 2-minute drive or something. So yeah, I'll pop down there once that's open.
Cool. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out very, very soon.
It comes out on the 26th, I think. I think it's next Thursday or Friday.
Well, I couldn't remember what day. I'm going to be away then, so I guess I'll get it when I get back. But yeah, this game looks amazing. I saw some article about how many hours of voice acting are in it and all these other statistics, and it was just bananas. It's like a 2,000-page script, hundreds of hours of voice acting. I have to find the article. We can put a link in the show notes, but it's a really pretty sprawling game.
Yeah, I think one of the things I saw was most of the random the NPCs that you're going to go past have got 70 or 80 page scripts that they had to go through, just for NPCs. It's not even people that are part of the story and stuff like that. I mean, it seems like they've put an incredible amount of effort in, and I think it was today or yesterday there was a leak of the cover, I think, from a Japanese online store, and it comes on 2 discs. So we've now reached the point in the PS4 life cycle, and I guess the Xbox One as well, where they've kind of hit the peak, and we've now got to do 2 discs for all the games, which, that happened for 360. It happened a little bit on the PS2 as well. So yeah, I guess we've hit that point now where, they've done everything they can, but we're just going to get 2 discs.
Well, I just found the statistics, and the thing I saw says 2,000 pages of script, 300,000 animations, and 500,000 lines of dialogue, and 700 voice actors.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty massive.
That's massive. So, a little bit of an interesting thing. I've actually cancelled my pre-order.
Oh, really? How come?
So I'd ordered the I don't know what they call it, the most expensive one, like the Ultimate Collector's Extreme Edition, whatever it's called.
Sure.
It came with it comes with a steelbook and a bunch of bonus content, I guess that you get with this edition. And it was like £40 more than the standard edition, and I just thought, do you know what? No, I don't want to encourage this sort of, you've got to pre-order the most expensive one just to get like this little bits of content that really, should kind of just be in the game. So yeah, right now I've just kind of cancelled it because the Spider-Man DLC comes out on, I guess, a week from today. So I'm going to be playing that anyway.
Right.
Once I've got through that, I will go and pick up a copy of Red Dead, but I really just didn't sort of feel good about encouraging this sort of pre-order nonsense that happens with a lot of games now.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. I made the mistake of ordering the disc for Spider-Man and then being so impatient that I downloaded the deluxe version after that. And so now I have the disc sitting here, and I guess I either missed the window to return it or Amazon won't let me return it. So I'm going to have to find it at home at some point. But I have not pre-ordered Red Dead yet. I mean, I just figure there are so many games coming out right now that I feel like I haven't even had enough time to really fully appreciate Spider-Man yet. So I'm a little torn. Do I like just stop playing Spider-Man and go straight to Red Dead for a little while? Do I wait? I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I think probably I've got a couple of trips coming up in the next few weeks. So my guess is I'm really just going to not spend a lot of time playing games until we get a little closer to our Thanksgiving here, kind of mid to late November, I think.
Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking, I'm like, okay, so I'll play Spider-Man DLC, that might be, I don't know how much content is in it, but I guess it's going to be like a week or so because I, generally only play at the weekends or something. And then we're only a few weeks away from Pokemon Let's Go, which I also have pre-ordered with the Pokeball controller.
Oh yeah.
That's coming. I think that's like the middle of November. So I'm like, I really don't know when I'm going to find time to play Red Dead, but I'm sure I'll be able to squeeze it in somewhere.
Yeah, there's it's just a lot going on. I'm glad I'm not really a Pokemon person. It wasn't one of the things that was big when I was playing games, and so I've never really gotten into it. But this new game does look like it's a big deal. I mean, people are very excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm excited about it because it's a sort of half remake of Pokemon Red and Blue, which is actually the only other Pokemon games I've played. So
okay.
It's quite exciting for me. And some people are annoyed because there's like another newer Pokemon game. Oh, excuse me. People are excited because there's another newer Pokemon game coming next year, which is sort of more of the the traditional gameplay, right. Whereas this kind of takes some stuff from Pokemon Go, but to be honest, I don't care. I'm just excited to play it. And yeah, so I really don't know when I'm going to find time for Red Dead.
Yeah, there's some gameplay footage that came out on Pokemon Let's Go I saw. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen a few different videos. They don't seem to be actually revealing a lot in all of these different videos. It seems just like an edit of all the of all the older trailers. There's little snippets that I see. I've pre-ordered it anyway. I'm not going to cancel my pre-order because I actually got a really good price on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
A few months back. I think I got like £15 or £20 off of it. So I'm not going to cancel it. So whether I watch videos or not is irrelevant. It's still going to turn up.
Did you ever play that game Reigns, which is kind of like a card swiping game on iOS? It may have gotten to Android too. I think it's even on like the Mac, but it's a little bit like a, I don't know what you'd call it. You're the king or the queen. There's two different versions, and people come to you, and you have to make decisions, and then your levels on a bunch of different categories go up and down, and the longer you can stay in power, the better, that sort of thing. Have you ever played that?
No, I haven't. It sounds interesting, but no, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
It's a pretty good mobile game, and it's out now. It was supposed to come out tomorrow. I'm a little annoyed because I got an advanced copy and I'm going to review it, and I'm not finished. And then they started hitting the store today. But there's a Game of Thrones version that just came out today.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's not supposed to be reviewed by anybody until tomorrow, which is a little weird when that kind of thing happens. But
Yeah,
that
that's a
happens
bit
with
strange.
propagation on the store, I guess. But yeah, it's out today, and it's fun. I mean, it's not a lot. If you've played the earlier games, the first one was probably the most rudimentary because it was brand new conceptually. The second one was a lot deeper and took the best parts of the first one and kind of expanded it. And this one with Game of Thrones is a lot like the second one. It's not, it's obviously a different story. It's got the Game of Thrones characters in it, but the gameplay and the way it works is not appreciably different than the second one, really. But it's worth checking out.
Well, I will. Yeah, I mean, I guess presumably if you're listening to this, the review might be out, depending on when I get around to editing it.
Yeah.
But, it should be out, as you say, tomorrow.
So did you see Stardew Valley is coming to iOS?
I did. This might be the time I actually play it.
I know. I have it, and I've dipped into it a little bit on the Switch, but it's not been something that I've played a lot. I guess the iOS version does not have the multiplayer aspects of it.
No, I don't think it does.
Right. So you won't be playing online with your friends, but it was kind of a big surprise, and it's a big deal because that's a very successful game.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think Mike said this maybe on. I can't remember what it was. Mike said it on maybe Connected or something this week, but he's surprised that it's coming now because it's been so long not on iOS. Like you'd kind of it. It seems like the perfect game to port to iOS. I just guess it's just taken them a while to actually get it done. I mean, I might play it, but again, it's one of those games where I'm like, if I start playing this, I'm just going to lose all of my time.
I know.
I've watched Mike and Tiff stream it for their podcast, Playing for Fun on Twitch. Like I've watched them play it for a little bit, which is probably enough for me because I'm just like, I can see how much time I were going to lose if I actually start this game.
I think people who really get into it, it's very addictive, and it's the kind of game that you can just like, it becomes every spare moment of your day.
Yeah, I definitely don't need that in my life. I had that before. It was called Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking at my screen time, and I definitely have a Twitter habit. There's no doubt about that. I've actually been pretty happy with my screen time numbers. When I look at them, they're not that bad, but Twitter is definitely one of the top ones still.
Yeah, that's a fun moment on a Sunday morning when me and Jess get the notification at the same time, and I'm like, "How long have you spent every day on your phone?"
Yeah, I know. So, I'm staying nice and toasty warm despite the cold weather here in Chicago, Rob, because I have devised a new system of creating a space heater. I didn't buy like a real space heater like a normal person would. Instead, I'm transcoding video on a Mac Mini from 2014. And I'll tell you, if you put Blu-rays into a Blu-ray player and rip those Blu-rays and then transcode them with Handbrake, it takes a long time, and that poor little that poor little Mini gets a little warm.
Yeah, I mean, God, I can barely. I think I've got the same Mac Mini as you, and if it gets turned off, or I have to like reboot it to reboot Plex and stuff. Yeah. I mean, that is hard work just navigating the system, let alone trying to transcode Blu-rays.
I know. I just thought I want to see if this can do it and see how long it will take to do, and it takes a really long time. I think a Blu-ray took like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It was a long it was a long process, but I mean, it's just sitting there in the corner not doing anything. So why not put it to work? Yeah,
I mean, have you got a lot of Blu-rays that you're
no
ripping and stuff, or just a few that you've got?
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it's just an experiment. It's part of a greater experiment of doing new things with my Macs and doing more automation. I've really started to, I guess it's kind of a inevitable working at Mac Stories that at some point I would get the automation bug.
Yeah, of course.
but I've been doing it both on the Mac and iOS. And with the Mac, I really like these new quick actions that are basically like little You build them in Automator, and they show up in the Finder, and you can do just little actions on files, which they're automation is actually much easier and nicer on iOS, I gotta say. I mean, the problem I have with the Mac is that anytime you want to do anything that's more than super simple, you end up having to write a Python script or an Apple script or something, which to me just kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. I mean, you can do a lot more complex automations, I think, with shortcuts without knowing much about coding. Whereas on the Mac, you really need to know what you're doing. You need to have some scripting abilities to do anything that's more than a little bit complex. But quick actions, I mean, just little stuff like, I don't know, when I put together the Club Mac Stories newsletter, I really need to have JPEGs because PNGs show up with black backgrounds, and they can't be any wider than 1024 pixels. So I just have, a simple process that converts them to JPEGs and makes them no wider than 1024. And so it's just little things like that, but it surfaces it by having it in the Finder where I can have a folder full of everything I'm working on and just select them, hit the quick action, and they take care of themselves. And other things like converting files from one type to another is another thing that quick actions are really good for. So I've been doing some of that. And
nice. Yeah, I haven't upgraded yet.
Oh, I've been pleasantly surprised. I was very nervous to do it because I did not get the warm and fuzzies from one of the audio editing vendors whose product I use, and I just went for it anyway because I have an old 2015 MacBook Pro in the house that I could use if things went really sideways, and that was the one thing I was worried about, and it's fine, and everything else has been fine too. But while I was reviewing it and using it for that purpose, I was running it on the Mini, and so the Mini just sat next to my MacBook Pro, and I would switch between the two. And that got really old fast because I didn't want to have two sets of keyboards and trackpads on my desk. So what I would do is when I switched over to the Mini, I had lightning cables coming out of the back of it, and I just plug in my wireless keyboard and trackpad from the MacBook Pro and use those with the Mini. And then when I needed to switch back to the MacBook Pro, because I was still doing that for audio stuff, I would have to then I would have to have a lightning cable coming off of that and plug in those things and reconnect them wirelessly. And it became just a huge hassle of switching back and forth, especially with the peripherals. But now I've moved the Mini back to its proper place where it is hooked up to an antenna and running Plex and getting over the air television and recording it, and been playing with some of those apps, some more like Channels. Have you ever tried Channels?
Yeah, I definitely tried them a few years ago. I mean, God, I think it was probably quite a long time ago now. But like it seems to depend on what service it is as to whether they actually work well or not.
Yeah.
It's at the moment I'm quite happy with all the services I've got without digging into Plex as much as I know I want to.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just have to dedicate like 2 or 3 days for me to like try out all this different stuff that I can do with it. Like I'm quite happy with what I do, which is just dump a load of files that I've got from some old TV shows, and I just kind of leave it at that.
Right. It's fiddly. Plex is definitely fiddly, and the thing I like about Channels is it's less so. Especially if you have it hooked up to one of these HD home runs, which I know are available in the US, and I'm sure they're available in the UK, but and other parts of Europe too. But they do the transcoding, so they take the over-the-air signal and transcode everything, and then send it over your network to a computer, and then you can play it through the Channels app, or you can use the same hardware setup for Plex too. But Channels will do stuff like it can upgrade the firmware of your HD home run. It can scan for the channels. It can do all that stuff in the app, and the UI is just a lot easier to use as a result. The problem is that you just need to have a good antenna, and I'm not willing to actually pay hundreds of dollars to have someone put an antenna on top of my house so I can get a really strong signal. Instead, I have like a little indoor one propped up in a window, which works pretty well, but you do get dropout of the digital signal, and and it looks terrible when that happens. So I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it or not, because an awful lot of these channels, these local channels, are available through Hulu now, which I have. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this just because it's fun to fiddle around with, or whether I really need what I'm getting.
Yeah, that feels like the same thing whenever I buy a Raspberry Pi when a new one comes out.
Right.
You know, and I build a thing that's a standalone thing that I can plug it in anywhere, and it's like, I'm never going to use that. Like, I've got plenty of computers in the house. I don't need tiny computers doing one single thing.
Right, and then now, all of a sudden, just to get these handful of channels over the air from Chicago, it's like, well, I got to make sure my network is running super fast, and I got to have this hardware, and then maybe, it'd be even better if I had an antenna, but then I got to hire somebody to put it up on the roof, and then string the cables down into the basement and hook it into this thing, and then I got to make sure the mini's running right, and really the mini's not fast enough. I really should have a different computer dedicated to this, and before you know it, for 5 channels, you've spent thousands of dollars. But
yeah, and and are you watching all of it, or are you just watching little bits?
That's the thing, is I don't really watch much television either, which makes it even worse. I mean, the rest of my family can watch it, but I don't really even watch all that much. So I guess I'm probably convinced myself that Hulu and Netflix and HBO, which I've already got, are more than enough for my watching needs. But I don't know. I'm going to keep playing with it for a while and see what happens. It is occasionally handy for something like when the Oscars are on. Even that stuff, though, is started to turn up most of the time on Hulu. So I'm not even sure. And one of the major networks here, CBS, I can't even get because of like a technological thing here in Chicago. So it's like I'm getting this collection of a few big networks and a whole bunch of crappy little local channels that I would never watch anyway, and a lot of hassle on top of it. But
fantastic! You're just this like mad scientist in the basement, just like running cables and bits of aerials in the house.
Yes, I have lots of junk, electronic junk, all over the basement while I'm working down here. And it's every now and then I just kind of wander through the house with tools and little bits and bobs and trying to figure out what am I going to do and what am I going to hook up next. Because, ultimately I can write about it all, which is kind of nice.
So when you told your family, a while ago now, you're like, right, I'm done with working in the city. I'm going to work for myself from home. Like, oh, great. And now they're like, oh, what are you doing
now? What's this thing in Finn's window? Oh, that's the area. That's the antenna. I need that to be up in the window like that so that we can get television now. But I've got.
I think you're like this close to a sitcom.
Yes, I can turn on my Apple TV with shortcuts now, thanks to the Harmony Hub remote. It's really amazing. IFTTT has webhooks. And it works. And it works with the Harmony remote. So you just have to say, turn on the Apple TV, and it sends a request, and it works amazingly fast.
Yeah, I've got that one set up, so I can say, "Ahoy, telephone, turn on the TV" or something like that. The problem is, if I get the wording wrong, it thinks I'm talking about a HomeKit device that I don't have.
No, you really have to come up with good phrases that are hard to that are unique, I guess.
By the time I've said it like 3 times, the first time it doesn't understand me. The second time it's like, you don't have a HomeKit device called TV. But the third time, I could have just walked in the living room and turned the TV on.
Yeah, no, I know.
This is not the future I was promised.
That's why you have to. I've learned things like you have to say like watch TV, or it's time to watch TV or something like that. Something where it's not, because turn on and all those kind of phrases are all associated with HomeKit. Like I try to set up a scene that was dim lights or something like that, and that's obviously collides very quickly with phrases that are reserved for HomeKit, so that doesn't work. I've been learning. I don't know. It's fun. We did an App Stories show about shortcuts the other last week, and we're going to do another one. So I had to come up with something. I've ridden Federico's coattails on a lot of this for a while, so I had to come up with a few of my own experiments.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, no, I think that was Look, a lot of stuff there, a nice bit of gaming,
Yep.
which it seems like a fairly sort of classic Ruminate episode.
Yes,
something weird with Amazon Go, some games, and you kind of just being mad person in your basement.
Yes. Well, I'm here by myself. I have nothing to do but cause trouble, so that's what I do.
Oh God, John, have you been outside recently?
No, actually, well, I did go out and get tacos today, so yes, I did go.
Oh, that's okay then.
I got out for 20 minutes to get a few tacos.
Perfect. Cool. Well, show notes will be at roomnetepodcast.com/ I really shouldn't start that if I don't know what the episode number is.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. I have no clue. I have to look.
It'd be 73.
Oh, how about that?
There we go. Yeah, that'll be 73. I assume you're still on Twitter?
I am still on Twitter. It's John
go.
Voorhees on Twitter. And we could get in a whole topic of Twitter, but I think we'll save that for another day.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts that are percolating, but I wasn't quite ready to go with them today, so we'll do it next episode, which will be in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.